Hello everyone, so it is Katie here from the Queen of Teen Fiction and we are currently midway through NaNoWriMo. So as of filming this video, it is day 14 of NaNoWriMo. I am currently at 22,000 words, so still a little behind, but not as much as I was last week. So that's where I'm up to in the word count. So let's talk about this second week, shall we? I am not going to lie, I have found writing really difficult over the past 7 days. No amount of coffee has been able to help me out with my plot over this past week. I've been so tired and drained whilst writing that I always think to myself, I'll have a coffee, maybe that'll motivate me. And then I get the coffee and realise I can't hold the coffee cup whilst typing. Well, I can, but it'd make typing very slow. So then I just end up saying to myself, I'll drink the coffee first and then get back to writing. And then by the time I've drunk the coffee, I want food. So then I go and have food. And then before you know it, writing is not happening. So I have found my plot dragging a lot this week. I don't know why, but everything seems to be moving really slowly. And it's getting to the point where writing scenes feel like a chore. I really don't want it to feel like that because I should be excited about it. It doesn't help that the idea I came up with that I mentioned in my last video still seems more exciting to me and I want to carry on working on that. I definitely think that my lack of preparation for this story is coming back to bite me now. I only decided that I was working on this idea 2 weeks before the start of NaNoWriMo, so like I mentioned at the start of the month, I hadn't put as much preparation into it as I would have liked. And because there is a lot of history weaved into my story, it includes a lot of research and going back and reading old documents, and I'm finding myself getting distracted by them. And I just wish that I'd had the time to do all of this research before I started writing so that I don't have to keep stopping myself in the middle of a scene just to go online and research. The characters in my story actually do research on some asylum records from back in the early 1900s. So to write that, I had to actually go and look at some old asylum records online. So I was reading these records from a very famous asylum in London, and the records were just so fascinating that I spent an entire evening just reading them rather than actually writing my scene. So although it was very fascinating, it did cause me to fall behind a lot. Also this week I've had a lot of difficulty with a character. In my last video I mentioned that I'd come up with an antagonist that I really wanted to weave into the story, but not fully introduce him in the first story that I'm working on. I wanted him to just make a few little appearances in this story and then in a second story introduce him fully. Last week I also mentioned that I'd had a new idea for another story that I wanted to work on. The thing is, this week I've realised that the antagonist I've come up with for the current story might actually be better off in the other story idea. That is not what I want. I want to be able to bring him into the story that I'm working on now. But I may have to just drop him from this story and put him in the new idea. It's like I'm stealing characters from one story to go to the next. But that also leaves me with a huge problem within the current story I'm writing, because if I did that, I'd have to come up with a new antagonist. It's a complete nightmare. I've not really had that problem before. So yeah, I pretty much don't know what to do about that right now. I suppose it's not that huge a problem simply because the antagonist wouldn't be introduced fully in the story that I'm writing now. But I still wanted to be able to foreshadow to him and what he's getting up to. So if I took him out of this story, I would have to bring in something else to replace that, and quickly. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do about that. I'm also toying with the idea of whether to just write him in this story and then write him in the other story as well, and then see which one works better. I don't know. What I do know for certain is that he can't be the same character in both stories because they're going to be set in like completely different worlds. And the story that I'm writing at the moment is set in our world as present. It just has a secret race of people with powers. Whereas the next idea that I want to work on, it's our world, but alternatively. It's set a few years after a major event happened to Earth, and it shows the repercussions of that. So this absolutely can't be the same character in both stories. Trust it to be the antagonist that ends up causing so many problems for me. He's a villain in my own life right now, let alone the stories that I'm writing. So hopefully I will try and figure out what I'm going to do about that over the next week, and I will keep you updated on that. As I said earlier, it has been a slow writing week. I felt like every scene has dragged. But also physically it's been slow for me to write because I ended up with a shoulder and back injury. I was doing a delivery and I had to lift a bunch of really heavy bags, and of course I'm one of those people that doesn't lift correctly. You know how you're supposed to like crouch down, bend by the knees to pick things up? I don't. Obviously I hunch over and pick bags up the wrong way. But I ended up straining my shoulder and back, and I was in so much pain yesterday that I couldn't even type. Luckily it's a bit better today because at least I can move my arm, yay. But yeah, I lost about 2 days worth of writing, and so I'm having to play catch up today. November is not an ideal month for me to not be able to physically type. So it has been a slow week, but I'm hoping it will get better in the 3rd week. So I'm a little apprehensive going into the 3rd week of the month because this is usually the week that I struggle the most. But then again, I have been struggling for the past 2 weeks, so who knows. I will see how it goes and let you all know. What could also cause a problem next week is that Mockingjay Part 2 was released, and I'm going to the midnight showing, which will be the first time I've ever gone to a midnight showing. And I do fully expect needing about 4 days to fully recover from that trauma. So I am expecting to fall behind on my word count around that time. I'm probably just going to be crying for days straight. I will probably still be crying by the time I make my next week's video. Let me know how NaNoWriMo has been going for you if you are taking part this month. Where are you up to in your stories right now? Have you had any character or plot problems? Let me know in the comments. So thank you all for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!